Welcome to the first episode of Jab Cross Hook here in Syracuse University. My name is Carter Masterson, joined by my good friend Dean Pomeroy. We're going to be breaking down everything to do with UFC 323 happening this Saturday in Las Vegas, Nevada. But before we get to that, Dean, let's take a quick look at what happened last weekend. We had a UFC fight night that took place in Qatar for the first time in quite some time in the UFC. And there were some big fights. Starting off with the main event, Arman Tsarukyan enters the ring for the first time in over a year, and he gets a decisive win over Dan Hooker.
Looking at that fight, it's as expected. Arman Tsarukyan is just an absolute beast. I mean, he's pretty much ran through everyone he's fought in the UFC so far, and I think he just showed that he deserves that title shot. And I think, considering Ilia Topuria right now, I think he's got the best chance of beating him. And I think I think at lightweight, no one else is matchup-wise. Considering he's so good on the ground, it's a matchup nightmare for Ilia, I think.
I agree that it would definitely be something. It's not a fight that Ilia's actively looking for, I'd say.
Yeah, exactly.
Arman's going to bring the wrestling in a way that Ilia could only get with Islam, really. I think Arman's one of the best contenders at the lightweight division at that 155-pound threshold. And I think he's just waiting for the chance to prove that.
Yeah.
It's not going to come in January. We know Justin Gaethje and Paddy Pimblett scheduled for the interim lightweight title battle. That will take place at UFC 324. We'll get into that a little bit later. Mm-hmm. Moving on to the next fight on the card, we had Ian Machado Gary facing former welterweight champion Belal Muhammad, and it's a two-fight losing streak for the former champ.
Yeah, I kind of anticipated Ian Gary to go in there and win. I think, again, Ian Gary, he has that range. He's 6'3" for welterweight. He's big. He's got that great, he was jabbing Belal's face off pretty much the whole fight. 30-27 on two of the scorecards, 29-28 on the other judge. He just won this fight by standing up, and Belal couldn't get a takedown. So it's kind of how it went.
Ian Gary, he's certainly a threat. I don't know if he's, I like to say for these prospects that they're destined for the belt. I don't know if anyone at 170 is destined for the belt right now. With the man who's currently holding that piece of gold. I'd say he's got one of the better chances, especially with that dominant performance over Belal Muhammad. Belal has a similar style to Islam. It's just he's just not as good, to be straight up. And to be honest, you saw what Islam did to Jack Della Maddalena after Jack Della Maddalena pieced up Belal Muhammad on the feet. There's a couple fights to make there. Ian Gary, do you say he's ready for the title?
You look at welterweight, it's just so stacked. Like, you have Carlos Prates, you have Ian Gary, you have Shavkat, you have so many guys that are just. You have Michael Morales too. You could really. Islam has so many options. I genuinely think Ian Gary is ready. I think he should get the next title shot. I think he proved it. And I think since Shavkat's been out for so long, you got to give it to Ian Gary. He's the guy.
I think Ian Gary is more than deserving of a title, and if he is the one to get that shot, you won't hear a peep out of me. Because I personally consider myself an Ian Gary fan. I think he's fun to watch. I think he's an entertaining fighter. I think he's very talented. Mm-hmm. But I don't think he deserves the next shot. I think he lost his number one contender's fight last year, Shavkat Rakhmonov. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean I think Shavkat Rakhmonov deserves it. You can't award inactivity, especially like what we've seen from Shavkat Rakhmonov. A year ago is the last time he fought, almost to the date. You just can't give him the shot. I think it's Morales. He's undefeated. He's coming off that awesome KO victory over Sean Brady, which I think might be the best win in the welterweight division right now. Sean Brady's down to that 7th ranking now. Yeah. He was high flying, and arguably he didn't have to take that fight versus Michael Morales. He could have just held out for the title. But he didn't. He chose to get those extra fights, and it didn't work in his favor.
Exactly.
But I think Michael Morales is the most deserving contender. He's got the 0. That's an exciting fight for Islam Makhachev. I want to see Gary get one more win before I say he's ready to fight for that title. Okay. Moving on to a couple of the other notable events from that card. Abdul-Rahman Yakhyayev with the round 1 KO over Rafael Sequeira. This guy is coming off Dana White's Contender Series. He's on a fast track to the top. He absolutely starched Rafael Siqueira. That light heavyweight division is in need of new contenders. It's in need of new blood towards the bottom of the rankings. I think you'll see him fighting towards the rankings.
Yeah,
pretty soon.
The thing is, look at the guy he beat, man. Like, this guy is a complete can. This is, in my opinion, is like one of those setup fights for, to get a new prospect going. This guy's lost every UFC fight, either in round one or he just got a decisive decision against him. This guy's not UFC worthy. Who's beat. We got to see him fight someone better to really consider him, a contender.
That I think is totally fair to say. Rafael Siqueira probably not going to be with the UFC any longer. That 0-4 start. He's been in some competitive fights. This one was not one of them.
Yeah.
We just mentioned Ilia Topuria. Speaking of his brother Alexandre Topuria, he had a unanimous decision win over Bekzat Almakhan. This is a win that Umar Nurmagomedov also picked up at that bantamweight division. Topuria, a lot of hype around him. His brother is this superstar, almost McGregor-esque superstar for the UFC. I haven't seen it out of Alexandre yet, but a lot of people are hyping this guy up to be just as good as his brother is.
Yeah, I think he's legit. I think he's got that strong base. He fights off his back foot. I watched his fight against Bekzat, and he fights off his back foot, and he's loaded with power. He can land. If he lands, it will mess you up. So he's got a lot of power.
Almakhan's a tough guy. We've seen him face off against some of those other up-and-comers. But Topuria, it was a pretty sound win.
Yeah,
he didn't leave much doubt.
Yeah.
The last headline we're going to go over from UFC Qatar, Kyoji Horiguchi making a massive comeback, ranked number 8 flyweight in the big 2025, Dane?
Yeah.
It's surprising to see, but realistically, he's only a fight away from the title.
And very deserving. He showed all aspects of his game. He had 2 knockdowns in that fight. He showed off some ground game. He had 5 minutes of control. 120 total strikes landed. I mean, he showed it all off, and he 100% deserves to be ranked there. So,
Tagir Ulanbekov had a lot of wins that weren't really that outstanding, and then it came out to be maybe for a reason. Maybe he hadn't really faced anyone.
Exactly.
I think he'll be able to get back on his horse. He hasn't shown anything too impressive, but I think he's a fine.
He is a Dagestan.
He's a fine flyweight. I think his grappling ability will be able to take him far. Although he does really like to use his striking. I also lied. That was not the last thing we needed to go over for UFC Qatar. Last but not least, Waldo Cortez Acosta gets back in the ring in around a month's notice and starches number 11, Shamil Gaziev. Shamil Gaziev, a fan favorite. That did not stop Waldo Cortez Acosta. Is he next in line for the belt?
I mean, at this point, I feel like he is. Honestly, yeah, I think he is. I think, well, first of all, you got to rematch Aspinall and Cyril. And while that's happening, you got to give Cortez Acosta someone like Volkov or, give him Sergey Pavlovich. We got to see one more fight from, Waldo Cortez Acosta before that title fight.
Well, the UFC would agree with you that he needs that one more fight. And it will come on UFC 324. Gaethje versus Pimblett, a very exciting fight, especially to the casual. Not saying that this is a casuals only fight, because I do think this will be a very exciting fight. But man, you got Paddy Pimblett, superstar. You got Justin Gaethje. He's just gonna go out there and swing. Yeah. This is gonna be a really exciting fight.
I mean, entertainment-wise, this whole card is just. Absolutely. It doesn't have the big names that you'd expect. Well, it does actually, Sean O'Malley. But every fight should be, there's a possibility for a knockout. You have Derek Lewis on this freaking card. You have Gene Silva, the power in those 2 guys. I mean, holy shit. And then you got O'Malley. I mean, he's one of the best. He's the best striker of bantamweight. I don't think there's a... And you got Gaethje and Pimblett to top it off. I mean, this whole card is just ridiculously fun to watch.
I only think more fights are going to be announced. Right now, I don't know if this is a crazy take. This is reaching UFC 300 status for me.
Yeah.
It's early.
It's fun.
It's early, and they're probably going to add a lot more unranked fights. But, I mean, they started off by announcing 7 ranked fights.
Yeah.
Only 5 go on the main card, 6 if they really want to stretch it.
Yeah.
But there's some just really fun fights on here. Arnold Allen versus Jean Silva. We'll see if Silva can bounce back from that KO loss to Diego Lopez. Allen has been inactive for a little bit. He's looking to get back into it at featherweight with that title picture wide open as well.
Yeah, wide open.
We'll get to that in a second. Cortez Acosta, Derek Lewis. You've got to imagine that's the #1 contenders fight. Cortez Acosta on that crazy active stretch with only one loss to Sergey Pavlovich. Derek Lewis had that win over Dvalishvili Teixeira this summer in under a minute. Lewis, a big name. Cortez Acosta, this young, active fighter. You've got to imagine they're going to want to feed whoever wins this to the champion or to Cyril Gane for an interim title fight, maybe, because Tom Aspinall might not be able to fight for a little bit, but we'll see.
And it's also just a fun fight. Like Derek Lewis, he's 40. I don't think it matters that he's 40. He's got crazy power still.
If Dvalishvili Teixeira could walk in there towering over him, and he gets him out of there in under a minute.
Yeah, well, it was a bit of a bad stoppage, but...
That's where I'll disagree with you.
Yeah.
Story for another time, of course, but Teixeira grabbed his way up the fence. Ref chose, instead of deducting a point, to stop the fight. I mean, you can really go either way there. He chose to stop the fight. Maybe that has something to do with it being Derek Lewis.
Yeah.
I think probably. Umar Nurmagomedov and Davison Figueiredo, that's also a #1 contenders fight winner, faces Merab. You'd assume Merab, but we'll get to Merab's next title defense, which is the headline for UFC 323. And last but not least, Teva Gautier, one of the best prospects in the UFC. He's fighting Andre Puliev. 10-3 out of the middleweight division. He's got a win in his last fight versus Nick Klein, a loss to Christian Leroy Duncan before that. Christian Leroy Duncan, not a bad loss. No one's going to hold that against him.
Yeah, Teva Gautier. I like to call him the Francis Ngannou of middleweight. That guy is so freaking jacked. It's ridiculous.
And it really, it's the way they fight. It's so similar.
Yeah.
And he's a middleweight. It's really scary.
And he's 23. That is super young for he's at right now. So.
And I like that they're not rushing him into the rankings.
Yeah, I like that.
Him his time.
Smart.
Featherweight title bout for UFC 325. Alexander Volkanovski versus Diego Lopez. A rematch of a fight we saw last April where Alexander Volkanovski claimed the vacant title at the featherweight division. He now rematches Lopez. Lopez coming off just one win versus Jean Silva by spinning back elbow KO. Volk hasn't fought. Seeing this as the rematch with Lerone Murphy on a massive win streak and being undefeated, along with his win, also the undefeated Movsar Evloev at featherweight. Once again, though, it's going to be my same argument with why you can't give Shavkat Rakhmonov the title shot at welterweight. Can't award that kind of an activity for Movsar. I'm shocked it's not Lerone Murphy.
Yeah.
But a good challenge for the great.
I just think Diego has the best chance of beating Volk because you saw that fight against Gene Silva. He proved that he's an absolute animal. And he bloodied up Gene Silva. I mean, that was one of my favorite fights to watch this year. And I honestly think Diego deserves a shot, and I think the UFC is doing him a favor and giving him that shot, so I like it.
Volkanovski, a rumored retirement bout. The legend stepping away, it would be really sad. It really would, because he's been around for quite some time. He dominated that featherweight division, had that insane win streak. I think he takes a loss to Diego Lopez, and I think he hangs him up in his home country.
Yeah.
I think it just makes sense. I think Diego Lopez is coming up. I think Diego Lopez is next up. We will see how that plays out, though. A lot of fun fights if Lopez wins that one. You got the Evloev rematch. I think him versus Lerone Murphy would be great.
Yeah.
We will see. But now it's time for what we came here to do. UFC 323 this weekend in Las Vegas. Seems like they just go to Las Vegas every other weekend at this point. But, hey, these cards are awesome. Last time we were in Vegas, we all know what happened. Alex Poatan Ferreira gets the KO in round 1. It was thrilling. Also on that card, Merab Dvalishvili defended his belt versus Corey Sandhagen. Already back out there, this time versus Petr Yan. We will get right into it, starting at the bottom. Muhammad Naimov takes on Mairon, the legend Santos. Muhammad Naimov comes into this one at 31 years of age, the typical featherweight, on a 2-fight win streak. He is facing off against Mairon Santos, who is making a weight cut down, moving to moving to featherweight, where he was at lightweight for his last fight versus Sadykhov. Myron Santos is the season 32 champ of the Ultimate Fighter, where he beat Conor Offley. What say you in this one?
So in this fight, well, Myron Santos missed weight, so that's one thing to take into account. He's the bigger man, and he's moving down. He's also the younger man, and he's also the striker, and Naimov is a great grappler. The way I see this fight going is I see Myron Santos picking him apart in the feet. I see him taking his time, and like you look at some of the fights, Santos has had in the past. He beat a guy, Sadykhov, who, Sadykhov has not had a win since 2022, 3 years. So he doesn't really have too many. He has a split decision against Francis Marshall. Like he doesn't have too many super crazy wins on his career. But Muhammad Naimov has been frauding his way to wins. The guy has a ridiculous amount of hair, back hair on him, and he's just a wrestler. All of his fights have been in, I think, Muslim countries or something like that with these judges, man. He wins these decisions. I feel like it's got to be Myron Santos by decision in this one. He's not going to get those, he's not going to get
the Abu Dhabi race.
Yeah, exactly. He's not going to get that.
He has typically fought there, but I think this is more than your typical fighter that they throw on the prelims of the Abu Dhabi cards to have him get starched and then move along and have him fight on the next card. I think he's a little more than that. Myron Santos, you mentioned his weight miss. I think it's important to contextualize weight misses.
Yeah.
With him moving down a weight class, I think that could have just been a weight cutting issue. I think that he might have tried his best to make that 146-pound limit, and he just couldn't do it. There's no shame in that. It's part of the business. You've got to be able to do it, but it happens every once in a while.
Yeah.
But that could mean he comes into this one a little tired. But he likes to throw. He throws more than Naimov. Naimov likes to work the takedowns a little bit. He doesn't really live or die by them, but it's definitely something he likes to use as a tool. Neither of these guys love moving forward very much.
For sure.
You mentioned that win over Francis Marshall for Myron Santos. He admittedly lost that one. When I watched that one, I didn't think for a second he won that fight, but he got the nod.
Yeah.
Naimov works the wrestling. He's comfortable getting hit. He's got a great chin. Santos has power, but overall I don't think his striking is anything special. So for that reason, I'm going to go Naimov by decision. I'm not really too confident in this fight.
Honestly,
I do like Muhammad Naimov though. I think he's going to be able to walk through the pressure of Santos, or I think he's going to walk through the shots of Santos to land some of his own, work the wrestling a little bit. The takedown defense from Santos is awful.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have that high an output, so I think this is one where Naimov takes it by
From
decision.
a betting perspective, I just would say do not touch this fight because it's just so 50-50. I don't know.
I would agree that this isn't, especially opening the card,
Yeah.
it's not one I'd get too heavily invested in.
Yeah.
Next fight, Mansur Abdul-Malik takes on Antonio Malvado Trocoli. This is easy. I don't like saying this is easy. Mansur Abdul-Malik is going to win this fight. If it's not by KO somehow, he's still going to win this fight. Antonio Trocoli is maybe one of the worst fighters in the UFC.
Yeah.
He's got an 11% takedown accuracy for someone who's supposed to be working the takedowns. That's terrible. That's terrible. He's got a 50% takedown defense. He lost to Sharon Magomedov. He got absolutely brutalized by him. That's not the worst loss. You're like, whatever. Then he goes out and loses to Tresean Gore by standing guillotine. Get him out of here. Get him out of here. He was supposed to be a prospect that they were invested in. However, the prospect that they were invested in was on steroids.
Yeah.
His win on the Dana White Contender Series got overturned due to a failed test. He won one fight, then got picked up by the UFC. We know Abdul-Malik is this big prospect. Let's look at these canceled fights.
Yeah.
Ovince St. Preux, Umar Saad, Ikram Aliskerov, all guys that they want to build up in that division.
Exactly.
Give me Mansur Abdul-Malik by round one.
And the funny thing about this fight is that in February they tried to match him against Mansur and they canceled that out, and now they're giving him again. Dude, he can't escape this guy. They just want, the UFC is setting this fight up for Mansur to knock him out. Dana is like licking his lips and is like, let's just get this kid a knockout. Let's get him some hype. And I mean, like Mansur is a physical specimen, dude. He is. If there's a guy I would say with like some of the best genetics in the UFC, it's gotta be Mansur. The guy is freaking jacked, athletic as hell. And his one draw that he had in his last fight against Brundage was complete garbage. He like kneed him and then they called it, and it was.
Yeah, I was watching that fight. I actually got a nice win off that. I had Mansur Abdul-Malik to win by decision, and on the night of the fight, it got cashed. I got the money from that. It was plus 900. I took that home. Brundage took a headbutt that made him go down, but he was getting brutalized already. They called it a knockout initially, went back, realized it was an illegal strike that ended the round, called it the fight there, and said it went to a decision, which isn't how it works. So I don't know how they got away with that. Anyways, the fight got overturned to that draw, which is why you see that on his record now. But I think this one's pretty open and shut. Mansur Abdul-Malik. Iwo versus Ibo in the next one at 205. A couple of light heavyweights coming in. Iwo Baraniewski out of Poland comes into this one holding a 6-0 record. Ibo Aslan, the last Ottoman, comes into this one 14-3. Ibo Aslan has 14 wins, all by way of KO. Iwo Baraniewski coming off a 20-second knockout of Muhammad Ali, not the famous boxer, spelled A-L-Y, who will be back on the regional scene as of this winter. He knocked him out easily, got the contract, moves to the UFC. He has a wrestling background, but he started to like the striking, it seems like. He started with 2 arm bars, now it's all KOs. Yeah. What do you see in this fight?
What I see is Ibo Aslan is a complete fraud. Like the guy he beat was, of course, the guy who I said is one of the worst fighters. Raquel, however you say his name, he's awful. He should be out of the UFC. And then in his last fight, well, he lost to Ian Kudalaba by sub. He showed that he has kind of not great ground game. It's like decent, but it's not that good. He's supposed to be Polish power or whatever, not Polish power, Turkish power. And the guy, his last fight against Billy Elikena was literally like 2 guys just staring at each other. Nobody decided to throw any strikes. It was probably the most boring fight I think you could say this whole year. What I see is Iwo Baraniewski. I see some crazy Polish power in him, and I see him winning this fight by knockout. That's what I see.
I also have this as a round 1 KO. Ibo Aslan is a guy who will sit and wait. He's a guy who's going to take what's given to him. And that's why that Billy Elikena fight was so boring, because Billy kept waiting for the power. He was scared of the power from Aslan that he just didn't really do much. Yeah. But Aslan didn't push the issue. He just sat there and lost a decision. It was one of the worst fight IQ moments I've seen. It was one of the worst fights I've seen. It was just all around.
It looked like 2 guys just going in there and saying, let's get a check and let's just not even throw punches at each other. That's literally what it looked like. It was that.
I agree. His loss to Ian Kudalaba, what did Kudalaba come in and do? He came in and made it an aggressive, fast-paced fight. I think Baraniewski's going to do the same thing. I think he's just going to go take it from Ibo. He just hasn't impressed me since his fight on the Contender Series. But whose Contender Series fight impressed me significantly more? Iwo Baraniewski. There's a lot of Contender Series guys on this card, just a side fact. But anyways, we both got Baraniewski by KO. Moving on, Edson Jr. Barboza takes on the unretiring Jalen the Tarantula Turner at 155 pounds. Edson Barboza, a 145-pound legend, moved up to fight Trocoli close after he got battered by Lerone Murphy in early 2024. However, he lost a pretty convincing decision to close. This guy's a legend of the sport. Jalen Turner lost 2 in a row, retired in February. He's fighting faster than Shavkat Rakhmonov. Yeah. But he's had some issues with quitting in the past, or his mindset at least, which he literally walked away from the sport. Mm-hmm. Now he's back. He was a hot prospect before that 2-fight losing streak to Moicano, where he had the KO and walked away from it. and then ended up losing, and he just didn't look good versus Barboza. But before that, big prospect. Only 30, he's back. What are your thoughts on the Tarantula?
I mean, I think Jalen Turner, like you look at a lot of his losses, he was in close fights in pretty much all of his losses. And he's going against a guy and he's also fought some like top tier talent. Like he's fought, you got Bahamondes, who I think is really good. I think his next fight should be someone good. He fought Moicano. He had the win over Bobby Green where he showed his power. And he lost a split to Dan Hooker. I think he had a knockdown, don't get me wrong, I think, in that fight against Hooker. Mm-hmm. And then in the Gamrot fight where he lost a split, I think he also had he knocked down his opponent in both those fights. So, I mean, I think he has really good striking. He's 6'3", so he probably has to drain himself like crazy to make weight for 155. And he's insanely lengthy. And you look at Barboza, he has just been beat up. And when he looks so shredded when he gets there in the octagon, like he cuts so much weight to get to 155. I think he's too old for this, man. He's gonna be 40 in a month here, and he just took so much damage against Lerone Murphy in that 5-round fight. Like he just got beat up, and like I think this is just the end of his career. I think Turner's gonna starch him. That's what I think. Knockout.
I mean, this guy's had some absolutely legendary fights versus Tony Ferguson, versus Beneil Dariush. He had a really good fight where he won via flying knee before they both ended up moving up to 155, actually. Barboza's been at 155, went to 145, back at 155. Mm-hmm. I just think he's too old. Yeah. Drakkar Klose is not he's not a fighter I rank highly. Jalen Turner, I think, is just too good that I think he's going to win this. Mm-hmm. I think he's just got too much skill. That's really all.
Don't get me wrong, I love Edson Barboza. I think he's a legend, but I just think he's taking too much damage and he's too old, frankly. That's kind of what I'm going to go with.
I think that's a fair way to look at it. I've got Jalen Turner by decision. I don't think he will be able to get the finish because I think Barboza's just tough. He's got a good chin, but we'll see if he can walk through fire enough against Jalen Turner. Now moving on to another fight that I'll probably be staying away from in general. Marvin Vettori versus Bruno Ferreira. Bruno Ferreira comes into this one 3 pounds over the middleweight limit at 189 pounds. Has never seen the final bell. He's 9-1 by KO, 5-1 by submission. Has never seen a decision versus a guy who's quite the opposite. Marvin Vettori, he's got his fair share of finishes, but he's never been finished. This guy, 8-8 by decision, but 11-0 by KO and submission. However, his best days are behind him. 6 fights ago, he was fighting Israel Adesanya for the undisputed middleweight championship. 6 fights later, he's fighting Bruno Ferreira to stay in the rankings. It's just been a fall from grace. He lost to Whitaker, Cannonier, to Lindsay Allen. He just got dominated by Roman Dolidze. Lost very convincingly to Brendan Allen. I personally have a hard time trusting him here. Tough Vettori versus 1-round cardio Ferreira is really all you got to look at here. Ferreira lost to Ruzaboyev by KO in the first round. He also got subbed late by Avis Magomedov. This is a guy that likes to get out of there in the first 2 rounds. This is a guy that doesn't like to get out of there. I think the fact that he's coming in over the weight limit is gonna show something. Like I think he's gonna have more power. I don't think this is a problem where it's gonna be him being drained. Mm-hmm. I think Bruno smells blood in the water early. And goes for the finish. That's what he has done in the past. Vettori has been hit a lot. The damage is going to break through at some point. Mm-hmm. His chin is going to crack. We've seen all the great chins crack. Yeah. You think of Holloway. You think of Volk. Yeah. Like they eventually it just happens. I think this is the fight, unfortunately for him. I don't think Bruno Ferreira is that good. Don't get me wrong. I really don't. I just think he's going to crack Vettori and finally take him down and get him out of here.
That's a good way of looking at it, but the way I see it, I mean, in his last fight against Brendan Allen, I mean, you said it was not a close fight. In my opinion, I watched it. It was a very entertaining fight. Vettori was landing on him. I mean, you look at the significant strikes, 109 to 111. That's very close. And then, you see Brennan Allen is a guy who just went on to beat RDR and pretty convincingly. I mean, he literally had RDR quit on him. So I think Vettori, he fights a lot of really tough guys, and he has an incredibly tough chin. He can eat a punch. I mean, we've seen that. And Ferreira just hasn't proved anything to me. Like, who has he beat that is actually decent? Like, literally no one. I'd say the best opponent that he's beaten would probably be Bruno. No, he lost to Bruno. Probably Gregory Rodriguez, that's a pretty impressive one. But
it was a while ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago. That was before RoboCop really started looking as jacked as he was recently.
I mean, you've seen him climb all the way to the rankings from that.
Yeah, and like Abus Magomedov, I mean, his ground game isn't that elite. It's not like Vettori. It's not like we're gonna see a takedown in this fight. This fight's gonna be. It has to end in a finish, and I'm going with Vettori. I think he's just too tough. He's just been through a lot, and I think he's gonna finish.
I could see a finish. I mean, Ferreira gets tired late into these fights. I could see Vettori finishing him. The only thing is, he just doesn't like his punches. He's got decently high output. They just don't hurt.
Yeah.
Like, it looks like the guys he's fighting are just walking through these shots and landing much more impactful shots.
Yeah.
So that could be a very easy way to lose another decision, which would be his fourth in a row. It's almost time for retirement for the Italian stallion. Moving on, Fares Ziam versus Nazim Sadykhov. What a fight this is. The Black Wolf of Nazim Sadykhov is coming into this one unbeaten in the UFC. One draw to Vyacheslav Borshev. This guy is a monster. 8-0 by KO. Ziam's 5-0 by KO. These guys are just really good. I do think both of these guys are good. I think both of these guys could be ranked fighters. What's your take here?
Well, someone's got to lose this fight, and they're both fighters I really like and I think are really good. But I'm siding with Fares Ziam. I think he's the taller guy, and he has better reach. So I think Nazim Sadykhov, I really just haven't seen quite enough from him. Like in his fight against Nicholas Mota, yes, he won, and yes, that was like a ridiculously entertaining fight. It was like they were just throwing. But Nicholas Mota literally knocked him down in that fight. I mean, they both had knockdowns, but
he pushed him to the brink first.
Yeah, and Mota's 5'9" and is honestly not a great lightweight fighter. I'm not gonna no shade to Nicholas Mota, but I think if we see Nicholas Mota knocking down Nazim Sadykhov, I have to side with Fares Ziam.
It's fair. Mota is a guy you normally see getting those really intense fights. He's normally the one that gets knocked out. That was the case that time, but he got close. Fares Ziam, I just haven't seen anything that's blown me away. After his loss to Terrence McKinney a while back, I was like, this guy might not be that good. But since then, over the past 3 years, he has pulled off a 5-fight win streak. But look at those names. Jai Herbert, Claudio Puelles, Matt Favola, Mike Davis.
Mike Davis is legit.
Mike Davis is okay. Out of all those names, he's definitely the best. But none of those names really jump out off the page at me. Yeah. Matt Favola, if you remember that fight, his coach goes, "Turn around." He turns around and eats a knee to the face, and that.
Oh, I've seen that.
That is what ended that fight.
Yeah.
Ziam was it's out of the ring, but it's something I think that needs to be mentioned. He was supposed to fight Cowboy Fernandez earlier this year, but there's a death in his family. His grandmother passed away right before the fight. Fernandez ended up taking on I don't remember the name, a British prospect, and just decimated him by a leg kick TKO. So that was not Ziam's fate. But Ziam's returning, and it's with a heavy heart.
Yeah.
And maybe that comes with heavy hands.
Yeah.
We'll see how that plays out. If I had to make a pick, I'm going Sadykhov. He is a dog. He has such a good chin. Ziam's a technical striker, and he can wrestle if he needs to. But Sadykhov he has good takedown defense, and I don't think that'll be a problem. Sadykhov may get a finish, but Ziam's got a good chin too. I don't think either get finished. I don't think Sadykhov's going to be able to land crazy powerful shots due to the reach disadvantage. But I do think he wins by decision. Next fight, Maycee Barber, Karine Silva. Maycee Barber hasn't fought in a year and a half. Over a year and a half. About a year and 3/4 at this point. She was supposed to fight earlier this year versus Aaron Blanchfield, however, had a seizure on the fight night, and that fight, of course, did not go through. Karine Silva, part of the Fighting Nerds camp, coming into this one. She's the slight underdog here, which may be a little surprising because it's a fighting nerd. You know, they always get insane hype. However, Karine Silva, not as big as a Carlos Prates or Jean Silva.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why we see the line the way it is. But this is an interesting fight. Silva's had a tough time at times. That Viviana Araujo fight, that's when I expected her to win, and she didn't. She came back out and just didn't look that good versus Barboza. But I think she's pretty good. But I'm picking her not because of who she is, but because of who Maycee Barber is. I cannot trust Maycee Barber right now. Hasn't fought in so long. On top of that, we don't know what her health is going to be like.
Yeah.
She is not the same fighter she once was. She's gotten into a different camp. She started promoting these crystals on her social medias, and she used to be a very religious, spiritual person.
I saw that.
I think a lot of damage has happened. I think she's changed as a fighter. I'm going to go Silva by decision, but not very confident.
Yeah, I mean, I'm someone that doesn't like to bet on women's MMA because I don't know enough about it, but like from like my perspective, I think Maycee Barber is good enough to get a takedown and, you know, kind of win this fight by decision, ride it out. But, you know, I just don't know enough about Karine Silva. I don't think I've ever even watched one of her fights before. I guess she's beaten Barboza, who I've seen before. But, you know, I'm just taking Maycee Barber, and it's kind of a blind shot, but, you know.
Well, she's the higher ranked fighter.
Yeah.
It's certainly within the realm of possibility that she just goes out there and dominates.
Yeah.
But we will see come Saturday. Terrence McKinney versus Chris Duncan. This is what the people are waiting for. Terrence McKinney hasn't seen the second round since he lost to Nazim Sadykhov in 2023. This guy doesn't see a lot of second rounds. Typically when he does, he loses. You look at his last 5 losses, 2 have come in the first round, granted. 3 of them in the second, though. He was also a Contender Series guy, lost to Sean Woodson, took the hard road, came back, and has picked up some pretty impressive wins. But he's kind of a win-loss fighter. Anytime you give him that step up, he has not seemed to be able to take care of business. But since his fight versus Damir Hadzovic, he looks like a different fighter.
Yeah, you could say that. I think McKinney I think he just goes out there to get a paycheck, genuinely. I think he goes out there and tries to make it an entertaining fight. He tries to win that fight of the night or performance of the night and get that, you know, $50K bonus every time he goes out there. And I'm not going to complain. He makes every fight he's been in ridiculously fun to watch. But in a guy like Chris Duncan, I rewatched his fight against Rebecca last night, and the guy has a chin. When you see Terrence McKinney go against a guy who has a chin, he usually struggles. When you see if Chris Duncan can make it to that second round and get a takedown or something, who knows? McKinney might gas out. And McKinney might, you know, not be built for the second round or third round. I think Duncan's going to be able to get there. I think Duncan has the chin. I think he's going to play it safe. I think he's going to get through that first round. He might lose the first round, but I think he's going to get to that second round. I think he's going to win this fight by submission.
I like the pick. You're going You said Duncan by submission.
Mm-hmm.
I like Duncan by KO in the second round. So we're in a similar boat. Why I like Duncan, similar reasoning. I think that chin is going to cause problems. I think the fact that Chris Duncan can wrestle is going to be a problem for Terrence McKinney. I think Terrence McKinney is going to take him down early. I think Chris Duncan's going to get right back up. Chris Duncan's not a guy who's going to give up the neck as he's getting up. I think he gets back up and the fight stays on the feet for the most part after that. Duncan's takedown defense isn't great, but if he goes down, I think he'll be able to get right back up.
Yeah.
And this isn't a guy that tires easily, too. This is a guy that's tough as nails. His fight versus Charlie Campbell on the Contender Series after he lost to Vyacheslav Borshev. He came back, got a second chance on Contender Series. One of the best fights I've ever seen. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. He was basically knocked out for the first minute.
Yeah.
And then just all of a sudden hits a big shot on Campbell, and the fight momentum just switched. And he won. His only loss is to Manuel Torres via rear naked choke. Manuel Torres also fighting on this card. Very good fighter. Since then, 3-fight win streak. I think he's just going to be able to get it done. I think McKinney's too much of a win-loss fighter. I've got Duncan by round 2 KO. I think he shakes off McKinney in the first.
And the other thing is Duncan loves to, pull the ghillie and try to go for that. That's why I take him by sub, because he did that against, who was it, Dvalishvili or whatever, and he did it against
Jordan Musanek.
He did the same guillotine. He loves to go for that guillotine. I think it's very possible he gets a guillotine here.
He went for it once versus Rebecca.
Yeah, he goes for it in every fight.
Didn't get it.
If McKinney's out there just, coming after him, I think Duncan has that chance to
just catch him.
Just get him with that ghillie.
I also think you can just catch him with like a left hook.
Yeah.
Just because McKinney, he doesn't rush in there.
He's not reckless, but
he's not reckless. It's his style.
He's athletic as hell, and
he knows what he's doing. But God, he is scary. It's not someone you feel confident in.
Yeah, exactly.
Next fight and the last fight of the prelims, Grant Dawson, ranked at UFC lightweight, faces Manuel Torres, who is really, really exciting to watch. His only loss to Ignacio Bahamondes, who we've mentioned already, very talented fighter who is, I believe, ranked 15th right now, actually, even though he had that loss earlier in the year to Rafael Fiziev. This is going to be a fun fight, in my opinion. Dawson is a guy that likes to lay and pray, as some say, just hold guys on the ground. And he's really good at keeping it on the ground and landing shots and not just holding a guy on the ground and doing nothing, but holding a guy on the ground doing enough damage where you can confidently say it's his round. Yeah. And he doesn't let guys get up, really. He dominated Joe Selecki. He dominated Diego Ferreira. He got Rafa Garcia out of there by ground and pound. But I think Manuel Torres is really good. I think Manuel Torres is really good. I don't know if he's going to be able to get by Grant Dawson, to be honest. I just think Manuel Torres is really fun. He's got 88% takedown defense. Yeah. This is a guy who used to be a grappler and fell in love with the striking. You look at his record, he's 7-2 by submission. He's 8-1 by KO. He throws so much that I think he's going to be able to defend a takedown or get up, and I just think he's going to be able to clip Dawson early and get him out of there. I've got Manuel Torres by a first-round KO.
And you said he has an 87% takedown defense, Torres?
88.
88? Yeah, you got to take him here. I mean, Grant Dawson is one of the best, I would say the best American wrestler at lightweight. Besides Michael Chandler, and
I'd say he gives Michael Chandler a run for his money, but yeah, that's close.
And, he's a good fighter, and he can, if he gets on top, I mean, it's a threat, but I think Torres doesn't let him on top. And I think Torres is he does have a 1-inch reach advantage, which isn't like a huge help, but it's something. And I think Torres is going to win this fight on the feet. I think he's going to knock him out. So that's how I see it.
All right, time for the main card, opening it up with Jan Blachowicz versus Bogdan Guskov at 205. Jan Blachowicz, a legend, former champ. He's had some just awesome fights. He beat Israel Adesanya when Adesanya came up to attempt to become double champ. Glover Teixeira captured gold versus him in an awesome fight, although he didn't come out on the winning end of that one. But this is a guy who's had a little fall from grace, and I think it's strictly due to his age. He's had some major surgeries on his neck as well, which is just not something you want to have a fighter you're going to pick. It's neck and shoulder surgery it's really hard to come back from in your career. His last 5 fights, he is 1-3-1. However, in my eyes, he's 0-4-1. He definitively lost to Teixeira by submission. He lost to Olberg easily. Olberg played that one very safe, won by a decision when he could have gone for the finish. Blachowicz just looks slow. He looked really slow out there versus Carlos Olberg. He had that fun fight versus Pereira, where Pereira, more of a striker like Guskov, was able to tag him with some big shots and win that fight. It says a split decision. I thought it was Pereira by 29-28, but it was somewhat close.
It was close.
That draw to Magomed Ankalaev, not close. He lost that fight. Everyone says it. Alexander Rakic says he won by TKO. Alexander Rakic blew out his knee before Blachowicz even really did anything. So it's hard to take much away from that.
Yeah.
Guskov is red hot. 4 straight wins by KO after his debut loss to Volkan Oezdemir. No shame in that. Guskov opponents always look game early in the fights, but he finds a way to come through. I think Jan might be able to work the wrestling, but that's a lot of work for a 42-year-old that just had neck surgery a little while ago. I think he works it a little bit early on, but I think the power will come through from Guskov when Jan gets tired. I'm going Bogdan Guskov by 2nd round KO.
So the neck surgery thing, this is in between this fight and his last fight, right?
No, it was a little earlier.
Okay. So with this fight, I mean, I see a 42-year-old, but I mean, I think I haven't really seen John fade too much yet. Like in his last fight against Olberg is probably like, well, what's his rank? He's number 3 right now, and he just knocked out Dominic Reyes, who was on a streak.
And Olberg will be fighting for the title in his next fight, whether he's next up or not.
And questionably, John won that fight. I mean, a lot of people had John winning that fight on the scorecards, and it was a close fight. And I think we're going to see the same kind of style fight here. I think Guskov, I think it's just like a levels thing, and I think John is super skilled, and I think he's going to be able to either get him in the clinch for a long time and kind of hold him there. And I think he's just got a lot of skill. I think he is a slower guy, and he's the older guy, but I just think it's a levels thing. I think Bogdan is never going to be the level of John, and I think John Wilder's just going to win this fight by decision.
And I think that's a fair thing to say, because, I mean, you look at that Billy Alakana fight. Billy Alakana pushed Bogdan Guskov to the brink.
Yeah.
He had him right there about to be finished. Nikita Krylov is Kill or Be Killed. It was Be Killed on July 26th. So we're going head-to-head there. This is going to be a very entertaining fight, though. I think I wouldn't be surprised if Blachowicz won. He was my pick at the beginning of the week. I just think Guskov's speed and power comes through as Blachowicz gets tired.
And he was dressed as, what's his name, Agent 47 at the weigh-ins. I don't know if you saw that.
I did.
Pretty cool.
It was really cool, and
yeah.
that is what made me official.
I mean, I like the character, and I like that he's, out, like putting his character out there. He's a cool fighter. I like him, but I gotta take John here.
Next fight, where it's a pretty similar breakdown to this one. You've got an old fighter who is out the door soon. I don't know if this is Jan's retirement fight. Could be at age 42, but we know this is Henry Cejudo's retirement fight. He takes on Peyton Talbot. Henry Triple C Cejudo, former double champ, beat Demetrius Johnson and TJ Dillashaw, then beat Marlon Moraes and Dominic Cruz, one of the best win streaks in UFC history. Mm-hmm. Then decided to retire, shockingly. Yeah. He decided to retire, and turned out not to be a good career decision. He comes back, loses a close fight to Aljamain Sterling, gets dominated by Merab Dvalishvili, and loses a really weird fight versus Song Yadong. He couldn't continue doing an eye poke. It went into enough rounds where it could be classified as a technical decision. Mm-hmm. Weird fight.
Yeah.
But he didn't wrestle at all in there.
Yeah.
If you don't know Henry Cejudo, gold medal winner in wrestling.
He's legit.
He's 38 years old, and all of a sudden his last fight decides to not wrestle, and now all of a sudden he's retiring? Mm-hmm. I don't even need to look at Talbot, who got dominated on the ground by Barcelos, came back, made great improvements against Felipe Lima. I don't even need to look at it. You got a retiring fighter, a wrestler, who doesn't want to wrestle anymore. Give me the striker who also happens to have a 6-inch reach advantage and a 6-inch height advantage.
Yeah, Peyton Talbot, I look at him as a prospect. I know he lost to Rossoni Barcelos, but, Rossoni Barcelos is a good fighter too. And he's, won his last, 4? So
yeah, he's creeping towards the rankings.
He's a great wrestler, and Talbot was, younger in that fight. I'm sure in camp he's worked on a lot of the, holes in his game. And he's legit, and he's he's just such a slick striker, man, and I really see him. I think, Cejudo has a chin, but I think Cejudo's going to quit. Like, I think Cejudo, you saw him in that last fight against Song Yong. He quit. He quit because of an eye poke. I think he's going to get hit, and I think he's going to, sort of ball up, and I think I think Talbot's going to win this fight by a knockout. That's how I see it.
I've been saying Talbot by decision all week, but I think you're right. I actually think this one could go to a knockout. I think anytime you see a 6-inch reach advantage, the ability to just sit there and go to a boring decision is there, but I don't think that's what Talbot wants. I don't think that's what Talbot needs. I think they gave this fight for a reason. I think he's going to go get a ranked knockout win for his highlight reel, jump in the rankings, then they'll probably give him a fight that he's not ready for, that'll win by a questionable decision, and now we have the new Sean O'Malley.
Yeah, Talbot is, the UFC clearly wants him to be good. They're giving him a shot here, and I think he's going to capitalize.
I'm being a little facetious. I don't actually think he's the Sean O'Malley level.
Yeah.
But they're definitely going to start looking to get him moved up if he can win this fight.
Yeah.
For Cejudo, he really doesn't have much to fight for other than his coach, who's also retiring.
Yeah. It's not a great sign either.
But if you got nothing to fight for and this is just the last hurrah, it takes a really locked-in person to go out there and win that fight, or at least have your best performance possible. That's not Henry Cejudo, especially not at this point in his career.
Absolutely.
I think Talbot's the biggest lock in the card.
Yeah.
I've got him by decision, but that's not very confident.
Mm-hmm.
Now we get to one of my favorite fights on the card. Brandon, the assassin baby Moreno, takes on Tatsuro Taira in a title eliminator here at the feature main card slot. Both these guys, same height, same reach, different ages, and a lot different experience. Tatsuro Taira, 17-1, only lost to Brandon Royval by a split decision. That's a great loss to be your only one. Yeah. He had a masterful TKO win over Alex Perez, where he blew out his knee with a takedown. I guess that's a TKO. I'd consider it more of a submission, but Hyun-Sung Park, he just dominated, could have knocked him out, chose to let him go to the second round, face cranked him instead. Really wasn't even under the chin. His rear naked choke, that's why it's a face crank, but he was just dominating him. Park wanted out of that. Moreno is the opposite. Yeah. This Taira up and coming, looking for these establishing wins. On the other end, for Moreno, you're looking at a guy who's been there, a guy who's done that. He's got wins over Davison Figueiredo twice. He's also got a win over Alessandro Pantoja, or he's got a fight versus Alessandro Pantoja that went to a split. I personally thought he won that fight. The judges did not. Yeah. We've seen what Pantoja has done since then. He also lost to Royval a split. I think this is a really interesting fight. Moreno, one of the best boxers in the UFC, but also very game on the ground. That's why I've got Moreno by decision. I think he's going to be able to get back up when Taira takes him down. I don't think anyone has an answer for his boxing. I think his boxing's arguably the best in the UFC.
So I'm actually going to go the other way on you here again. I'm going to take Tatsuro Taira. I feel like that's a common theme in this card. I've been going with the other fighter, but Tatsuro Taira is 25. He was, in his loss against Royval, he was 24? He's so young, and trust me, this guy's been grinding in camp. Where does he train out of? The Black Belt Japan, so he trains out of Japan. I know this guy's just training, his butt off, and you look at the fight against, what really impressed me, what really sold me on Tatsuro Taira, is the fight against Alex Perez where he was on his back and he did that move and kind of tore Perez's leg. That was 100% intentional. Yeah, he did I don't know exactly how, but I saw a video breaking it down. 100% intentional way to hurt your opponent in that situation, and it was, he got it done.
He attacked the left leg, but all of the pressure on the right, it was just physics at that point.
He's so skilled on the ground, and if he can get Moreno there, man, he's going to get him in a body triangle, and he can just sit there and threaten the neck. He can do, all that. And Moreno is so good. Like, this is such a hard fight for me to take. Out of all the, flyweights that have fought Pantoja, 100% Moreno has given him the hardest fight. And that's because he's probably, I would say the best boxer flyweight. But I think Tyra is going to get away. I think he's going to find a way to take him down in this fight, and I think he's going to get him, and I think he's going to win this fight by decision because it's a 3-rounder. So I think he's going to hold him in the body triangle for at least 2 rounds, and he's going to win by decision.
I see it as possible because don't get me wrong, Tyra is outstanding. I think he's one of my favorite fighters. I had him earlier this week before I went back, watched more film because I think he's just that good.
Yeah.
But man, I rewatched that fight versus Pantoja, and if he can just attack, like if he can keep up with the wrestling of Pantoja, like he can keep up with the wrestling of Tatsuro Taira. Brandon Royval gave him some troubles on the feet. Brandon Royval gives everyone troubles.
Yeah.
He's tall for flyweight, and he just has such a funky style. But I just think if this guy can be Prime Davison Figueiredo in their quadrilogy, if he beat Brandon Royval earlier, he beat Kai Kara France twice. I think this guy's just really good.
Yeah.
He beat Brandon Moreno, but I think this is gonna be sneaky. Could be fight of the night.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Moreno by split decision isn't even crazy.
Yeah, split is definitely possible. I mean, he
We've
was
seen
originally
splits before.
Yeah, and he was supposed to fight Amir Albazi before that one got canceled, and he fought on Sung Park, who I think is legit. He had a face crank on him, completely dominated that one. He just looked so world class in his last fight that I have to take him here in this one.
It's fair, and he could totally go out there. I wouldn't even be surprised if he subbed Moreno.
Yeah.
But I personally think the Assassin Baby's just a little too good. Now, Gold's on the line. We are at the final 2 fights. Co-main event, Alessandro the Cannibal Pantoja coming off looking for his 5th consecutive title defense, faces off against Joshua the Fearless Van. It comes in at around plus 200. The challenger is only 24 years old. This guy is so much fun to watch. Joshua Van had the fights earlier this year on June 7th and June 28th, where he won both of them. That fight versus Brandon Royval was the second. Massive step up in competition. I thought it was too soon. I was all over Royval, and it was the fight of the year. But he wins. He wins and wins convincingly.
Dude,
but
Josh Van is not
concerns.
afraid to throw.
He's not. But here's what concerns me about Josh Van. He might be a little too unafraid. He comes into this one wearing the suit, wearing the sunglasses, talking about how he's going to take this belt. It's a lot of confidence. It's a lot of confidence, and you're looking at possibly the greatest flyweight ever on the other side of the ring. Alessandro Pantoja, never been finished. He's on a 7-fight win streak over guys like Kai Kara France, Steve Usyk, Brandon Royval, Brandon Moreno, Alex Perez, Royval again, Cap. He also had Asakura in there. This guy's just beat the best of the best. And it's really hard for me to pick a winner in this one. Joshua Van's got 81% takedown defense. But Pantoja's got the best ground game in the flyweight division. And if he gets him in that body triangle, sayonara for the round. Like, I don't think Josh Van's getting out of that.
Yeah.
But I don't know if Josh Van gets in that very much. I think maybe Pantoja takes a round or 2 from that. But Pantoja gets tired on the feet and he leaves holes. I was a guy that said a couple months ago that Alessandro Pantoja is like, he will never lose a fight to any of the flyweight contenders. But I've changed my tune a little bit. I think this fight's really close. I'm torn between choosing a Pantoja sub or a Van KO. Either way, I don't think this one goes the distance. But for me, I'm taking Joshua Van by a KO in round number 5. I think he's going to be able to box Pantoja's head off, get him tired, and that damage is going to accrue over the course of 5 rounds. Has Josh Van ever gone 5 rounds? No, but I'm not doubting him anymore. They said Bruno Silva was too much too soon. They said Brandon Royval was too much too soon. He made easy work with Bruno Silva, and he took care of business against Brandon Royval too. He defended uber takedown attempts versus Ray Saruya. I just think he's destined. I think I get McGregor guy vibes with this guy and the way that he's destined to be champion. Not that he's the superstar that Conor McGregor is, because no one will ever be. Although I do think Joshua Van will be a superstar. He's already got great fan support. And I think this is his crowning achievement win. I think he's the best. I think he is going to become the best boxer in the UFC. He's going to take that crown from Brandon Moreno. And that would be a really fun fight.
Yeah.
That'd be a really fun fight. But this one could go either way. It's not one that I'd ever even consider putting money on. But I got Joshua Van by K1 round 5.
And the only thing you didn't really mention from that breakdown there was that Josh Van just turned 24 in October. I mean, this guy's so young. I mean, he's got to be champ at some point. It's whether or not he's going to get another title shot at some point. I know he's going to work his way up. If he doesn't win this
2 years.
Yeah, easily. And, Pantoja is just, he's so good on the ground. And he's 35. He's only getting older. Josh Van's only getting,
He's entering his prime.
He's entering his prime. And I think we see, Josh Van just show up in this fight and with all that confidence and just, land some blows on him and really, stop those takedowns. And I think he can win this fight by knockout. I genuinely think so. And I think, what's best for the UFC is Josh Van winning because I don't think Pantoja is exactly a fan favorite. Like people like him, but let's be honest, I think a lot of people would be excited to see a new flyweight champion. And I think the UFC would love Josh Van to win this fight. So, I mean, on the scorecards, who knows, we could see a robbery if this does go the distance. But I think I'm going to take Van here. I think he's the dog of the card, and I think he's a really good striker. And he's not afraid to throw.
I think this fight, I mentioned it could go either way. I think the UFC is pleased if it goes either way. Joshua Van wins, you get a new flyweight champion, you get a bunch more fights you can book because Pantoja's beat up the whole division at this point.
Yeah.
You get a bunch of new fights you can book, but if Pantoja wins, that's 5 straight title defenses. You'd have to imagine he'd be moving up to fight the bantamweight champion.
Yeah, for sure. Merab, yeah.
There's no one else to fight at 125 for him.
Yeah. Who's he going to fight? Steve Ursay again? Who cares about that?
It's not like you can even...
Nothing for his legacy.
If Van's close, even in this fight, and he loses by a decision,
you
can't argue a rematch because Van has one good win, and it's Brandon Royval. Although I do think he deserves to be here. He stepped in versus the number 1 contender and took that spot from him. I will never pick against him again after seeing that. I didn't think it was possible. Give me him by a KO in round 5, but more specifically, if I was just taking him, I'm just taking Joshua Van at that plus 195 number. All right, now it's time for the main event of the evening. Merab the Machine Dvalishvili is taking on Petr No Mercy Jan. Merab Dvalishvili, looking for his 4th consecutive title defense all this year, would be a record in the UFC. He's approaching his 35th birthday, but this guy's one of the greatest to ever grace the UFC ring. He's got the best cardio that anyone's ever seen. The only argument is Cain Velasquez, and I don't really think there's much of an argument there. He takes on Petr Yan, former champ. He beat Jose Aldo at UFC 251 to claim the belt. He then lost it at that famous fight versus Aljamain Sterling, the illegal knee in round 4 in a fight he was winning. Changed the course of his career. He then goes out, takes the interim title fight versus Corey Sandhagen, loses the unification bout versus Aljamain Sterling, then lost another split decision to Sean O'Malley before getting dominated by the champ himself, Merab Dvalishvili. That was 50-45 across the scorecards. There was literally not one judge that put around for Petr Yan. He's come out this week all of a sudden saying his shoulder was torn during that fight. I typically don't believe the fighters when they say that. However, Petr Yan, this guy that's been around for a while, and you look at the fights around that time, maybe it was hurt. And he has followed that up with 3 straight wins. All of that said, give me Merab. I'm going to say by finish. But I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to decision. And I know I've been saying KO or sub for the other ones, but I'm just going Merab by finish. He got really close for Sandhagen, and he did finish O'Malley. I think a lot of people just have this conception about him that he has no finishing ability. Maybe that was the case before. It's certainly not now. He's looked game for finishes in his last 2 fights. Petr Yan is not someone who's going to get taken down too easily, but I do think just over time that'll wear down on him. And I think he gets clipped in the 3rd or 4th round. Because he's going to have to be going forward at some point. Petr Yan is a guy you see start slow and Just see what's going on with the fight. He lost a round to Ferreira. He lost a round to McKinney. He lost a round to Yadong. It's just what he does. He takes a second to see what's going on. Merab does the same, unfortunately for him, and I think that Merab's ability to build up in a fight is going to just be way more than him. And what can you do to improve off of a 50-45 win?
Yeah.
The only thing you can do is go out there and finish him. I think that's what Merab does. I mean, he solidifies himself as the bantamweight GOAT with his fourth title defense of the year, his second by finish.
Yeah, I'm just going to add on to what you said. Merab is literally, his nickname is the Machine. He is literally a robot. Like, he does not get tired. I think he shot,
It was upwards of 20 takedowns.
It was against Sandhagen. It was, oh my God, it was 37. I think in the first.
And he landed like 20 of them.
Yeah, and in the first Jan fight, the one where he said his shoulder was injured, 49, nearly 50 takedowns. That's insane cardio. He's just shooting the whole fight. Technically speaking, Petr Yan had one of the best takedown defense percentage-wise against Merab for who he's fought. You know, Merab gets takedowns against everyone, and he only allowed 6 minutes of control, which in a 5-round fight is not that much. But I think Merab is too much for him. I think Petr Yan is one of the most skilled guys in the UFC, and has incredible striking, and he's a great fighter. But I think Merab is just like a different breed. Like these Georgians, I don't know. It looks like Merab was made in the lab. The guy just doesn't stop. He doesn't stop with those relentless takedowns. And eventually he's going to get one, and he's going to end up winning these rounds, and he's going to win this fight by decision. I think Petr Yan takes it to a decision. I think Petr Yan, who knows, maybe lands a few clean strikes on him. But I just think that, I think Merab is just too good, and all that volume and all that cardio is gonna it's gonna get there, and it's gonna win him the fight.
I think Jan's game in this fight.
Yeah.
Like I think he does have an ability to take a round or two. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
I couldn't see him winning the fight. I couldn't even see him getting enough to force one judge to give him the fight.
Yeah.
I just think it's going to be too much Merab, especially if you can just pencil in Merab for the first round, which seems to be the case in most Petr Yan fights.
Yeah.
You can just pencil in his opponent for the first, but I just don't think he's going to be able to win the championship round. So even if he comes out wins 2 and 3, I don't think he can win 4 or 5.
Yeah.
I think this is Merab Dvalishvili's fight to lose. I don't think he ever loses. I have a hard time seeing how it happens, at least. Yeah. Petr Yan, if he was hurt last fight and he can throw the same amount of strikes Merab did, then maybe there's something here. I don't think so. I think it's Merab Dvalishvili.
Yep. I think Merab is going to have his way with him. He's going to do what he wants on the ground. He's just that cardio. I mean, not to mention that his cardio is good. He's just a different breed. This is his 4th title fight in a year. It's ridiculous. No one's ever done this before. We've never seen this before in the UFC. This guy is relentless. I personally think he's on PEDs. I think that's how he does it, because there's no other explanation at this point. His cardio is that good. I just can't make an explanation in my head other than that he's on the performance enhancing drugs, and that's what makes his cardio so good. But he might just be that good. He might just be a different breed.
I mean, all those negative tests. It would seem he's natural, which it is probably scarier actually.
Out of all the guys in the UFC, he's been tested the most, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
it would seem he's natural, but it just seems
it's crazy. I don't know how he's getting to these tests, man. He is jacked. I mean, you look at Merab. One reason why I personally think he's on PEDs is because back in the first fight of his career, he did not exactly look as strong as he is now. I mean, PEDs don't always make you look big, but he looked different. Now he's jacked. I think this guy's just on it, and I think he's knows how to pass drug tests, and I think he's an absolute machine.
I think that's what people turn to say when there's just greatness that they can't explain.
Could be.
I just think Merab is the greatest bantamweight fighter to ever grace the sport.
For sure.
And I think he's just trained really hard to get here. But this is his next test, and we'll see who's up next for him after that. Of course, it'll be the winner of Umar Nurmagomedov, you'd assume, in January. Mm-hmm. Now we'll get to our specials to end off this episode of jab cross hook. Bankroll builder for me, my lock of the night, is Brandon Moreno. He's plus money right now. I'm putting this take out here a little bit. But I just think he's going to be able to outbox him. I think he's going to be able to get up when the takedowns come, and I think he's going to be able to stuff a lot of the takedowns. I think he wins this by a pretty convincing 29-28.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting choice. Obviously I disagree with you and said to sort of Tyra, but my lock of the card, Mansur Abdul-Malik. I think he's going to starch him. I think there's no questions asked. I mean, he can win that fight everywhere, and he's just an absolute freak of nature. So,
now, if anyone wanted to make real money on that, they'd have to put quite a bit down.
Yeah, you can't.
It's not really something you can play on its own. Minus 300, the line to be finished by KO.
Yeah.
It shows you what the sportsbook know is about to happen. It's not even a think is about to happen. Mansur Abdul-Malik is going to go out there and starch him. Feeling frisky. What's one fight that you think you know the exact method and round it's going to end?
So I'm taking Jalen Turner, and I'm going to take him round 2 knockout. The reason for that is because, I think Barboza is old, and I think that first round, Jalen Turner's going to feel him out. He's going to land some jabs. He's going to hurt him. And then come that second round, I think Barboza's going to be, old. He's going to be tired. And I think that's the round where Turner finishes the fight. And I think that's going to be my feeling frisky.
And now to the get-rich-quick parlay scheme of the week. Mine's going to be Iwo Baraniewski, Nazim, Sadykhov, Merab, Dvalishvili, Muhammad Naimov, and Peyton Talbot.
Quite a list.
It's not something I'd actually ever consider throwing very much.
Don't tail that,
But it's something I think that has some serious some value plays in it. I think Sadykhov and Naimov as underdogs. It's just an enticing number.
Yeah.
That 5-fight parlay will put you at plus 1398.
Mm-hmm. And for mine, I got Jalen Turner, Marvin Vettori, Ziam, and John Blowich. I think that comes out to around plus 700.
Plus 634.
634.
And that's, it's
good value.
You've got some short favorites there.
Yeah.
The Vegas likes them for a reason.
Yeah.
And none of their lines are too big. They're pretty good value there if you put them all together. Top dog of the night, I've got Muhammad Naimov at plus 195 in that first fight of the night. I just think it's a really good matchup for him versus Mairon Santos.
Yeah, that's definitely. I was considering that for putting that in my top dog, but I'm taking Josh Fan for the top dog. I think he's gonna. Again, I broke it down, but I think he has the best chance to beat Pantoja.
It's a tougher matchup than Muhammad Naimov versus. For sure. It's a lot tougher than that. Alexander Pantoja, one of the greatest ever to do it at flyweight. Joshua Van really looking like he might be the one that can knock him off. That'll do it here from Jab Cross Hook for episode number 1. Carter Ashton, Dean Pomeroy signing off. We'll see you after UFC 323 before the last fight night of the year for 2025 when Brandon Royval takes on Manel Cap. Have a good one and enjoy the fights.